The Atlanta skyline glittered like diamonds against the night sky. On the rooftop of the Vail Tech building, Atlanta's elite mingled, champagne glasses clinking as smooth jazz played in the background. Waiters in crisp white shirts moved between guests carrying silver trays of appetizers. Langston Vail stood near the edge of the rooftop, a glass of scotch in his hand. At 30 years old, he had already made his first $50 million. His tailored navy suit fit his athletic frame perfectly, and his confident smile showed off teeth that had cost more than some people's cars. "Langston, man of the hour," called out Derek Williams, a local sports agent, clapping him on the back. "Quite a party you've thrown here." Langston nodded, soaking in the admiration. "Vail Tech doesn't do anything halfway. That podcast interview sure stirred things up, though," Derek said, lowering his voice. "Black Twitter is still going crazy. You lost, what, 3 sponsors?" "4, Langston corrected, unbothered. "They'll be back. They always come back when they see the numbers I bring in." 2 weeks ago, Langston had appeared on the Future Makers podcast. What was supposed to be a discussion about tech innovation had veered into his personal life when the host asked about his dating preferences. "Black women aren't that attractive to me," he had said without hesitation. "They're too aggressive, too independent, too complicated. I respect their hustle, but in my personal life, I need someone who complements my energy, not competes with it." The clip had gone viral within hours. "Your mother must be having a fit," Derek said, glancing around the party. "Is she here tonight? Mom is in Miami for the weekend, and trust me, she said worse about black women than I ever could." Langston laughed, but there was no humor in it. His mother, Vivian Vail, was light-skinned and had raised him with very specific ideas about status and appearance. Across the rooftop, Sana Rhodes adjusted a centerpiece on one of the tables, making sure the white roses were perfectly arranged. She hadn't wanted to be here tonight. Actually, she hadn't wanted to be in Atlanta at all, but life had other plans. "Sana, the flowers look amazing," her cousin Maya said, rushing over in her catering uniform. "I can't thank you enough for helping me out. This event is too important for my business to mess up." Sana smiled, tucking a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. "It's fine. Not like I had big Friday night plans anyway." "How's Aunt Patricia today?" Maya asked, her voice softening. "Mom had a good day. She remembered my name this morning," Sana said, her voice steady, even as pain flashed in her eyes. "The new medication seems to be helping a little." 5 years ago, Sana had left Atlanta with a broken heart and something to prove. Now she was back with a master's degree in clinical psychology and a mother who sometimes didn't recognize her. Early-onset Alzheimer's was stealing Patricia Rhodes away piece by piece. "You should mingle a little," Maya suggested. "There are some serious connections to be made here. Didn't you say you're looking for a position at a practice?" "I'm here to help you, not network," Sana replied. "Besides, I'm not exactly dressed for mingling." She gestured to her simple black dress, elegant but nothing like the designer outfits the other women were wearing. "Girl, please, you look gorgeous and you know it," Maya insisted. "Just take a lap around the party. The bar has those fancy, non-alcoholic cocktails you like." Sana relented, mostly to make her cousin happy. As she made her way through the crowd, she felt eyes following her. She was used to it. Her deep brown skin and high cheekbones always drew attention, sometimes admiration, sometimes judgment. At the bar, she ordered a sparkling water with lime. The bartender was just handing it to her when she felt someone move in beside her. "Whatever the lady is having, I'll take the same," a deep voice said, "and put it on my personal tab." Sana turned to find herself looking into the face of Langston Vail. She'd seen him on magazine covers and news segments, but in person he was more imposing, taller than she expected, with intense eyes that seemed to evaluate everything they saw. "I can pay for my own drink, thank you," she said politely but firmly. Langston's eyebrows rose slightly, not used to rejection. "I own the building. Technically, it's all on me anyway." "Then, thank you for the hospitality," Sana said with a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. She turned to leave. "Wait," Langston said, something unfamiliar flickering across his face. "I don't think we've met." "Langston Vail." "I know who you are," Sana replied. "Sana Rhodes. I'm helping with the event decoration." "You're not a guest?" he asked, surprise evident in his voice. "Not everyone here is a millionaire, Mr. Vail," she said. "Some of us just make things look pretty for the millionaires." For a moment, Langston seemed at a loss for words. Women usually tried to impress him, not dismiss him. "So you've done an excellent job," he recovered, gesturing to the rooftop's elegant setup. "The space has never looked better. My cousin Maya deserves the credit. It's her company." Sana took a sip of her water, maintaining eye contact over the rim of her glass. I'm just helping out. And what do you do when you're not helping out? I'm a clinical psychologist, recently moved back to Atlanta. A doctor then, Langston said, genuinely impressed. Where did you practice before? Chicago. I was finishing my degree and internship there when my mother got sick. Sana wasn't sure why she was sharing this with him. Something about the way he was looking at her, like he was truly seeing her, made the words come out. I'm sorry to hear that, Langston said, and for a second his carefully constructed persona seemed to slip. Thank you, Sana replied. If you'll excuse me, I should get back to my cousin. As she walked away, Langston found himself watching her. There was something about her, a quiet dignity, an unapologetic confidence that wasn't loud or brash but was undeniably present. He couldn't remember the last time a woman had walked away from him at a party. Who is that? He asked Derek, who had appeared at his side. Who? Derek followed his gaze. The caterer's helper. Little out of your usual league, isn't she? Too dark, too... What was the word you used? Complicated? Langston shot him a look. I was just asking who she is. Her name is Sana something. Word is she's some kind of doctor who moved back to take care of her sick mother. Pretty noble, if you ask me. Langston found his eyes drawn back to Sana, who was now helping a waiter arrange desserts on a display table. There was an elegance to her movements, a focus that seemed to shut out the glittering chaos of the party around her. For the rest of the evening, Langston found himself distracted. He chatted with potential investors, posed for photos, and gave a brief speech thanking everyone for coming, but his eyes kept searching for Sana in the crowd. Near the end of the night, he spotted her helping her cousin pack up some supplies. Ms. Rhodes, he called out, walking over. I hope you saved room for dessert. The chef made these chocolate mousse cups specially for tonight. He held out a small dessert plate to her. Sana looked surprised but accepted it. Thank you, she said. That's thoughtful. Langston Vale thoughtful? Maya whispered, eyes wide. Is the world ending? Sana shot her a look before turning back to Langston. The event was lovely, Mr. Vale. Your company must be doing well. Please call me Langston. And yes, Vale Tech is expanding faster than even I anticipated. We just secured funding for a new AI project that could revolutionize home healthcare. At the mention of healthcare, Sana's expression changed subtly. That's an area that certainly needs innovation. Perhaps you could give me your professional perspective sometime, Langston said, seizing the opening. Over dinner, maybe? Maya's jaw dropped, but Sana's expression remained composed. I appreciate the offer, but I'm not really dating right now, she said. My mother's care takes up most of my free time. It wouldn't be a date, Langston said quickly, though that was exactly what he'd intended. Just a business consultation. Vale Tech is always looking for experts in various fields. Sana considered him for a moment. I'm afraid I'll have to decline, but thank you. For the second time that night, she walked away from him, leaving Langston staring after her. Did that just happen? Maya asked, eyes wide. Did you just turn down Langston Vale? Is that so shocking? Sana asked, continuing to gather up flower arrangements. Yes. He's only the most eligible bachelor in Atlanta, not to mention richer than God. He's also the man who went on a podcast 2 weeks ago and said black women aren't attractive, Sana reminded her. Or did you forget that little detail? Maya winced. Okay, fair point. But he was definitely into you, the way he was looking at you. Men like Langston Vale are used to getting what they want, Sana said. I'm just a novelty because I didn't fall at his feet. Later that night, as Langston's driver took him home, he couldn't get Sana Rhodes out of his mind. Her rejection bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Take me by the office first, he told his driver. I forgot something. At Vale Tech's headquarters, Langston went straight to his computer and searched for Sana Rhodes, Psychologist, Chicago. He found her LinkedIn profile, a few academic publications, and a photo from a psychology conference where she'd presented a paper on trauma and resilience. The more he read, the more intrigued he became. Dr. Sana Rhodes wasn't just beautiful, she was brilliant. Her research focused on helping communities of color access mental health resources. She'd graduated top of her class and turned down positions at prestigious clinics to return to Atlanta. Langston leaned back in his chair, thinking. He wasn't used to being denied what he wanted, especially not by women. Something about Sana Rhodes challenged him, challenged the image he had of himself, of what he found attractive, of what he thought he knew about black women. This isn't over, he murmured to himself, closing his laptop. Not by a long shot. Across town, in a modest apartment, Sana sat beside her mother's bed, holding her hand as she slept. The medication helped with the confusion, but the doctors had been clear. Patricia Rhodes's condition would only worsen with time. "How was your event?" Patricia asked, briefly, waking and surprising Sana with her clarity. "It was fine, Mom. The flowers looked beautiful. Did you meet anyone interesting?" Even in her illness, Patricia remained concerned about her daughter's happiness. Sana thought of Langston Vale, with his arrogant smile and penetrating gaze. "No," she said after a moment, "no one worth mentioning." But later, as she lay in bed, Sana found herself remembering the way Langston had looked at her, not with the entitled appreciation she was used to from men, but with something that had almost looked like wonder. For a moment, she'd glimpsed something beneath his polished exterior, a flicker of a real person behind the millionaire mask. She pushed the thought away. Men like Langston Vale didn't change their views overnight, and she had no interest in being someone's exception, someone's "but you're different from other black women" trophy. She had enough challenges in her life without adding a man with deep-seated issues about women who looked like her. Little did she know that across Atlanta, Langston Vale was already planning their next encounter, determined to understand why, for the first time in his life, a woman he'd dismissed as not his type had completely captured his attention. The game was just beginning, and neither of them was prepared for where it would lead. 3 days after the rooftop event, Sana was reviewing job applications at her kitchen table when her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number but answered anyway, hoping it might be one of the therapy practices she'd applied to. "Dr. Rhodes speaking," she said, her voice professional. "Dr. Rhodes, this is Langston Vale." Sana almost dropped her phone. "Mr. Vale? How did you get my number?" "I have resources," he said, as if that explained everything. "And please, call me Langston." "What can I do for you, Mr. Vale?" Sana deliberately used his last name, maintaining the boundary he was trying to cross. "I have a proposition for you," Langston continued undeterred. "Vale Tech is developing healthcare AI for patients with memory conditions. Your expertise would be invaluable." "I'm not an AI specialist." "No, but you understand the psychological impact of memory disorders. We're offering consultation contracts to specialists like yourself. Very generous compensation. 3 hours a week, mostly remote work." Sana paused. She needed the income, and her mother's medical bills were piling up. Still, she suspected this was just Langston's way of getting closer to her. "I'd need to see the project details and contract before considering anything," she said cautiously. "Of course, I can have them sent over today. Perhaps we could discuss it over dinner tomorrow night." "I don't mix business with pleasure, Mr. Vale," Langston chuckled. "Who said anything about pleasure? This is strictly professional. I'll have my driver pick you up at 7. Before she could object, he'd ended the call. Sana stared at her phone in disbelief. The man was used to getting his way. Later that afternoon, a courier delivered a thick envelope containing project outlines and a consultant contract offering $5,000 per month for her limited involvement. It was substantially more than market rate, and Sana knew it. "He's trying to buy you," Maya said when Sana called her. "But girl, that's a lot of money for very little work." "I know," Sana sighed, "and the project actually seems worthwhile. AI assistance for Alzheimer's patients. It could help people like Mum. So go to dinner, hear him out. You don't have to fall for him to take his money." Sana laughed despite herself. "When did you get so pragmatic?" "When I started my own business." "Take the meeting, Sana. What's the worst that could happen?" The next evening, precisely at 7, a sleek black car pulled up outside Sana's apartment building. The driver, an older man with kind eyes, opened the door for her. "Good evening, Dr. Rhodes. I'm Howard, Mr. Vale's driver. He's meeting you at the restaurant." The restaurant turned out to be Bacchanalia, one of Atlanta's most exclusive dining establishments. When Sana entered, Langston was already seated at a corner table, rising to greet her. "Dr. Rhodes, thank you for coming," he said, his eyes taking in her simple but elegant black dress. "Your contract was persuasive," she replied, taking her seat. Langston smiled. "I thought it might be. Did you review the project materials?" "I did. It's an interesting concept, especially the memory prompting features." For the next 20 minutes, they discussed the technical aspects of the project. Sana was surprised by Langston's genuine interest in her professional opinion, asking thoughtful questions about how the AI might better serve patients and caregivers. "You're not what I expected, Mr. Vale," Sana admitted as their main courses arrived. "Oh, and what did you expect?" Someone less engaged. "Your public persona suggests you're more interested in profits than people." Langston's expression shifted slightly. "Business is business, but this project is personal for me." "How so?" Sana asked, genuinely curious. Langston hesitated, then said, "My grandmother had dementia. My mother couldn't handle it and put her in a facility. I was just a teenager, but I remember feeling like we'd abandoned her. The staff tried, but they couldn't give her the attention she needed." For the first time, Sana saw vulnerability in his eyes. "I'm sorry, that must have been difficult." "It was a long time ago," he said, his mask slipping back into place. "Tell me about your mother." The project notes mentioned early onset Alzheimer's. Sana was surprised he'd remembered that detail. "Yes, she was diagnosed 3 years ago, at only 52. I was in Chicago when I got the call." "That's why you moved back?" She nodded. "I had a job offer at Northwestern's psychology department. Good salary, prestigious position. But Mom needed me more. No other family to help. My father died when I was in college. There's just me and my cousin Maya." Sana took a sip of her water. "Mom has good days and bad days. On good days, she's almost herself. On bad days, she doesn't know who you are." Langston finished softly. Their eyes met across the table, and for a moment there was understanding between them. Then Langston seemed to catch himself and straightened his posture. "Well, Vale Tech hopes to change that reality for families like yours, which is why we need consultants like you." The rest of dinner passed pleasantly enough, with Langston keeping the conversation professional. When they finished dessert, he handed her a pen. "So, do we have a deal, Dr. Rhodes?" Sana studied his face. "On one condition. I want part of my compensation to include a beta testing unit for my mother when the product is ready." Langston didn't hesitate. "Done. I'll have the contract amended tomorrow." As they left the restaurant, Sana was surprised to find Howard waiting with the car. "I'll have Howard take you home," Langston said. "That's not necessary." "I insist," he said firmly. "It's late, and I'd feel better knowing you got home safely." In the car, Sana found herself reflecting on the evening. Langston Vale was a puzzle. The arrogant businessman who dismissed black women on a podcast had shown glimpses of genuine humanity tonight. Was it all an act to get her to sign the contract, or was there more to him than his public image suggested? The next morning, Sana was helping her mother get dressed when the doorbell rang. "Are we expecting someone, baby?" Patricia asked, her eyes clear today. "No, Mom, I'll go see who it is." At the door was a delivery man holding a large arrangement of white lilies, her favorite flowers, though she couldn't remember telling Langston that. The card read simply, "Thank you for your insights last night. Looking forward to working together. LV." "Who are they from?" Patricia asked when Sana brought the flowers inside. "Just a business associate, Mum." Patricia gave her a knowing look. "Must be some business, those are expensive flowers." "It's not like that," Sana insisted, though her cheeks felt warm. "If you say so, baby." Later that day, as Sana was reviewing her consultation contract, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Dinner was productive. Lunch tomorrow to discuss implementation details?" LV. Sana sighed. The man was persistent. She typed back, "Thank you for the flowers, but I'm busy tomorrow. Mom has a doctor's appointment." His reply came almost instantly. "I'll have Howard pick you both up. We'll have lunch after the appointment. Doctor's offices always run late anyway." Before she could respond, another text arrived. "The restaurant is near the medical center, and they have those lemon tarts you mentioned liking." Sana frowned. She had mentioned her love of lemon desserts in passing during dinner. The fact that he'd remembered and planned around it was unsettling and thoughtful. The next day, true to his word, Howard arrived to drive Sana and Patricia to the doctor's office. Patricia was having a good day and was delighted by the luxury car. "Your business associate must be very important," she said, running her hand over the leather seats. "He thinks he is," Sana replied, making Howard chuckle from the driver's seat. After the appointment, which went better than expected, Howard drove them to a small French bistro where Langston was waiting. He stood when he saw them, his smile genuine as he greeted Patricia. "Mrs. Rhodes, it's a pleasure to meet you. Sana has told me what an amazing woman you are." Patricia beamed. "Has she now? My daughter usually keeps her cards close to her chest." "Mom," Sana warned, but Patricia just smiled and took Langston's offered arm as he guided her to their table. Throughout lunch, Langston was charming and attentive, asking Patricia questions about her life and listening with genuine interest to her stories, even when she occasionally repeated herself or lost her train of thought. Not once did he show impatience or discomfort. "You were a teacher," he asked at one point. 30 years, Patricia said proudly. 5th grade. Best age. They're still sweet, but starting to think for themselves. My favorite teacher was my fifth-grade teacher, Mrs. Bennett, Langston said. She was the first person who told me I could be whatever I wanted if I worked hard enough. That's what I always told my students, Patricia said, her eyes brightening. Especially my black boys. The world doesn't expect much from them, so I expected everything. Langston's expression flickered with something Sana couldn't quite name. She sounds like a wise woman, your daughter, he said to Patricia. Patricia laughed. Oh, she gets her stubbornness from her father. Not me. She patted Sana's hand. This one always knows her own mind. Never could talk her into anything she didn't want to do. I'm discovering that, Langston said, his eyes meeting Sana's across the table. After lunch, as promised, there were lemon tarts for dessert. Patricia dozed off briefly while they were finishing their coffee, the medication making her drowsy. Thank you, Sana said quietly, for being so patient with her. Not everyone is. She's a remarkable woman, Langston replied. I can see where you get your strength. You don't know anything about my strength, Mr. Vale. I know more than you think, Dr. Rhodes. His voice was soft but intense. I know you gave up a prestigious career to care for your mother. I know you work as a consultant while looking for a permanent position that will accommodate your caregiving responsibilities. I know you turned down dinner with one of Atlanta's most eligible bachelors because he said something stupid about black women on a podcast. Sana's eyes narrowed. Have you been investigating me? I like to know who I'm working with. Is that all this is? Work? Langston held her gaze. Would you believe me if I said I find you fascinating? That I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since we met? No, Sana said bluntly. I'd think you're trying to prove something to yourself. That I'm the exception that proves your rule. Langston looked genuinely startled. That's not... Mom, Sana said, noticing Patricia stirring. Are you ready to go home? Yes, dear. This has been lovely, but I'm tired. Patricia turned to Langston. It was wonderful meeting you, young man. You have good manners. Your mama raised you right. A shadow crossed Langston's face. Thank you, Mrs. Rhodes. Howard drove them home, and Langston insisted on walking them to their apartment door. As Patricia went inside, he touched Sana's arm. I meant what I said. This isn't about proving anything. Isn't it? Sana challenged. The man who publicly stated black women aren't attractive, suddenly interested in a dark-skinned black woman, seems convenient. I said something ignorant, Langston admitted, surprising her. I'm not proud of it. But you didn't apologize for it either, Sana pointed out. Would it make a difference if I did? Not to me, she said honestly, but maybe to all the black women who heard you devalue them on that podcast. Langston was quiet for a moment. I'll think about that. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. Thank you for today. Your mother is wonderful. As he walked away, Sana felt confusion swirling in her chest. Who was the real Langston Vale? The arrogant millionaire who dismissed black women, or the attentive man who treated her mother with such respect? Over the next 2 weeks, Langston maintained a professional relationship with Sana. He sent daily emails about the project, occasionally called to discuss specific features, but didn't ask her out again. She found herself oddly disappointed, though she'd never admit it. Then one evening, as she was helping her mother prepare for bed, a breaking news alert flashed on her phone. She nearly dropped it when she saw the headline. Tech CEO Langston Vale issues public apology for comments about black women. The article included a video statement Langston had released on social media. Sana quickly pressed play. 2 weeks ago, I made careless and hurtful comments about black women during a podcast interview, Langston said, looking directly into the camera. I want to unequivocally apologize for those comments. They were ignorant, disrespectful, and frankly, beneath the standard I should hold myself to as a black man and a public figure. He continued, my words perpetuated harmful stereotypes that have been used to devalue black women for generations. I have no excuse for what I said, only a commitment to do better, to listen more, and to use my platform more responsibly. Sana stared at her phone in disbelief. The apology seemed genuine, unforced. There was no publicist standing beside him, no carefully crafted statement he was reading from. Just Langston, looking humbled and sincere. Her phone rang almost immediately after she finished the video. It was Maya. Are you seeing this? Her cousin demanded. Did you know he was going to do this? No, Sana said, still processing. I had no idea. Girl, this has to be because of you. He meets you and 2 weeks later he's apologizing for saying black women aren't attractive. That's not a coincidence. It doesn't mean anything, Sana insisted, even as a small part of her wondered if Maya was right. After getting her mother settled in bed, Sana's phone rang again. This time it was Langston. "Did you see it?" he asked without preamble. "I did," she said carefully. "It was unexpected, but necessary," he said. "You were right. I needed to apologize, not to win points with you, but because it was the right thing to do." "And how does your mother feel about your new perspective?" Sana asked, remembering Patricia's comment about his mother raising him right. There was a pause. "She's not thrilled," Langston admitted. "But that's her problem, not mine. I'm trying to be better than what I was taught." The honesty in his voice caught Sana off guard. "That's commendable. I want to see you," he said abruptly. "Not for work, not for show, just you and me, talking." Sana hesitated. "I don't know, Langston. One dinner. If you still think I'm just trying to prove something to myself after that, I'll back off completely. Professional relationship only." Against her better judgment, Sana found herself agreeing. "One dinner, but I choose the place." "Deal." 2 nights later, Langston's car pulled up outside a small soul food restaurant in Sana's neighborhood. It was nothing like the upscale establishments he usually frequented, just a family-owned place with incredible food and no pretensions. Langston looked slightly out of place in his designer clothes, but he didn't seem uncomfortable as he slid into the booth across from Sana. "This place smells amazing," he said, looking around appreciatively. "Best mac and cheese in Atlanta," Sana replied. "My dad used to bring me here every Sunday after church." "Your dad," Langston said thoughtfully. "You haven't talked much about him. He died of a heart attack during my sophomore year of college. It was sudden." Sana's voice softened with the memory. "He was a good man. Worked at the postal service for 30 years, never missed a day. He and Mom were high school sweethearts." "You must miss him." "Every day," Sana admitted, "especially now with Mom sick. He would have known exactly how to make her laugh on her bad days." Their food arrived, heaping plates of comfort food that made Langston's eyes widen. "If I ate like this every day, I'd never fit into my suits," he joked. "Some things are worth the calories," Sana said, smiling. As they ate, the conversation flowed more easily than Sana had expected. Langston told her about growing up as the only child of a single mother who had worked her way up from receptionist to executive at a marketing firm. "She wanted everything for me that she never had," he explained. "The best schools, the right connections, the perfect image. She pushed me hard." "And your father?" Langston's expression hardened slightly. "Not in the picture. He was married to someone else. My mother was the other woman. That must have been difficult for both of you." "She taught me to never show weakness," Langston said, pushing food around his plate. "To always be the strongest, smartest, richest person in the room. Because if you have power, no one can hurt you." "Is that why you built Veil Tech, for power?" "Initially, maybe." He looked up at her. "But now, I want to build something that matters. Like this AI project. It could help families like yours." Sana studied him across the table. "You're not what I expected either, Langston Vale. Is that a good thing?" "I'm still deciding," she said honestly. After dinner, they walked along the quiet neighborhood streets. Without thinking, Sana found herself leading him to a small park where she often brought her mother on good days. "It's peaceful here," Langston commented as they sat on a bench. "Mom likes to feed the ducks," Sana said. "Some days it's the only thing that calms her when she's agitated." "My grandmother loved birds too," Langston said softly. In the facility, she had a window that faced a garden with bird feeders. On her clearest days, she'd name every species that came to visit. As they sat in comfortable silence, Langston's hand found hers on the bench between them. Sana knew she should pull away, maintain the boundaries she'd set, but something stopped her. His touch was warm, gentle, not possessive or entitled as she might have expected. "I haven't felt like this in a long time," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe ever." "Like what?" Sana asked, her heart beating faster. "Like I can just be. Not Langston Vale, CEO. Not the rich guy everyone wants something from, just me." He turned to face her. "You don't care about my money or my status. You challenge me. You see through the bullshit. Is that all you want? Someone to keep you honest?" Langston shook his head. "I want to know you, Sana. The real you. Not just Dr. Rhodes the consultant or Sana the caregiver. I want to know what makes you laugh, what scares you, what you dream about." His words touched something deep inside her, a place she'd kept carefully guarded since her fiancé had walked away when her mother got sick. The last man she'd trusted had abandoned her when things got hard. Could she risk opening herself to that kind of pain again? "I should get home," she said, standing up. "Mom sometimes wakes up confused at night." Langston nodded, not pushing. "I understand." He walked her to her apartment building, stopping at the entrance. "Thank you for tonight," he said, "for choosing that restaurant, for sharing those parts of your life with me." "It was just dinner, Langston," Sana said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Was it?" He stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. "Tell me you didn't feel something tonight and I'll walk away. Professional relationship only, like I promised." Sana looked up at him, at the vulnerability in his eyes that he tried so hard to hide from the world. Against her better judgment, she found herself saying, "I felt something." Relief washed over his face. Slowly, giving her time to pull away, he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. The kiss was gentle, questioning, full of promise. When they parted, Sana felt slightly dizzy. "Good night, Sana," Langston said softly. "Good night, Langston." As she watched him walk back to his waiting car, Sana touched her lips, still feeling the warmth of his kiss. She was stepping into dangerous territory, opening her heart to a man with a complicated past and deeply ingrained issues. But for the first time in years, she found herself willing to take the risk. What she didn't know was that across town, Langston's mother, Vivian Vale, was watching her son's public apology video with growing anger. She picked up her phone and dialed a number. "I need information on someone," she said coldly. "A Dr. Sana Rhodes. Find out everything, and I mean everything, about her. I need to know what hold she has on my son." The game had changed, and the stakes were about to get much higher. Vivian Vale's penthouse apartment overlooked the Atlanta skyline, a testament to her rise from humble beginnings to the upper echelons of society. At 55, she was still strikingly beautiful, her light skin carefully maintained with expensive treatments, her hair perfectly styled. She watched the morning news with growing irritation as they played a clip of Langston's apology for the third time that week. And in business news, tech CEO Langston Vale's surprising apology for comments about black women has been met with mixed reactions. While many praise his accountability, others question the timing, especially as photos have surfaced of Vale with a beautiful dark-skinned woman identified as Dr. Sana Rhodes, a clinical psychologist. The screen showed a grainy photo of Langston and Sana leaving the soul food restaurant, his hand on the small of her back. Vivian's phone rang. "Did you get what I asked for?" she demanded without greeting. "Yes, Mrs. Vale," replied the private investigator she'd hired. "I'm emailing the file now. Nothing particularly scandalous, I'm afraid. Dr. Rhodes appears to be exactly what she seems, a psychologist who returned to Atlanta to care for her sick mother." Vivian frowned. "There must be something. Everyone has secrets." "Well, there was one thing," the investigator said. 5 years ago, right after her father died and before she left Atlanta, she was briefly hospitalized for what the records vaguely call exhaustion. But reading between the lines, it appears to have been a mental health crisis. Vivian's eyes narrowed. "Send me everything, and keep digging." Across town, Sana was having breakfast with her mother when her phone buzzed with a text from Langston. "Morning, beautiful. Coffee later?" Sana smiled, typing back, "Some of us have work to do, consulting on a healthcare AI project for a demanding CEO." His reply came quickly. "Sounds like a tough boss. Need me to have a word with him?" Don't bother. I hear he's completely smitten with his new consultant, barely listens to a word she says. He must be a fool. I hear she's brilliant." Their playful banter had become a morning ritual over the past week, ever since their dinner and that kiss. Sana was surprised by how easily Langston had slipped into her life, texting throughout the day, dropping by with dinner when she was too tired to cook, even sitting with Patricia while Sana ran errands. "Someone's in a good mood," Patricia observed, more lucid than usual this morning. "Is it that handsome young man who keeps sending you flowers?" Sana's cheeks warmed. "Maybe. He reminds me of your father," Patricia said, surprising her. "Not in looks, of course, but the way he looks at you, like you're the only person in the room." "It's still new, Mom. I'm being careful." Patricia reached across the table, taking her daughter's hand. "You've been careful your whole life, baby. Ever since Marcus left when I got sick, you've kept everyone at arm's length." "Marcus left because he couldn't handle the responsibility," Sana said, the old hurt surfacing. "What happens when Langston realizes how hard this is? When you have a bad day or when I'm too exhausted to dress up and go to fancy restaurants?" "Not every man is Marcus," Patricia said gently. "Give this one a chance to show you who he is." Later that morning, Sana was reviewing patient files at the small practice where she'd recently started working part-time when her colleague, Dr. Jackson, appeared in her doorway with a strange expression. "You didn't tell me you were dating Langston Vale," he said, holding up his phone to show the same grainy photo that had been on the morning news. Sana's stomach dropped. "We're not... It's complicated." "Well, complicated or not, it's all over social media. Tech CEO's new Black Queen PR move or real love?" he read from his screen. "What?" Sana grabbed the phone, scrolling through comments that ranged from supportive to vicious. "PR stunt. She's gorgeous, he's lucky. How can she date him?" What he said. Uncle Tom found himself a queen to fix his image. She must be after his money. Sana felt sick. Her private life was suddenly public fodder, her character questioned by strangers. She handed the phone back. "I need to..." She stepped out. "Have you seen the news?" "I just did," he replied, his voice tight. "I'm so sorry, Sana. I never wanted to drag you into this. They're calling me your Black Queen, saying I'm some kind of redemption arc for you." "We both know that's not what this is," Langston said firmly. "Do we?" Sana challenged. "It's been 2 weeks, Langston. 2 weeks since you changed your tune about black women being unattractive to you. How do I know this isn't exactly what they're saying? A PR move to fix your image?" "Because I know what I feel," he said, his voice dropping lower. "And I think you do too. Don't let them get in your head, Sana." She took a deep breath. "I need to process this. I'll call you later." When Sana arrived home that evening, she was surprised to find a sleek black car already parked outside her building. But it wasn't Langston's car. It was a different luxury vehicle she didn't recognize. Inside her apartment, she found her mother sitting across from an elegant, light-skinned woman who could only be Langston's mother. Patricia looked confused, while Vivian Vale sat with perfect posture, a smile that didn't reach her eyes fixed on her face. "Mom? What's going on?" Sana asked, setting down her bag. "Oh, Sana, this nice lady came to visit. She says she knows you." Patricia's voice had the uncertain quality it took on when she was trying to hide her confusion. "I don't believe we've met," Sana said coolly to Vivian. "I'm Sana Rhodes." "Vivian Vale," the woman replied, extending a manicured hand. "Langston's mother. I thought it was time we met, given how close you've become to my son." The threat beneath the polite words was unmistakable. "I was just making tea," Patricia said, starting to rise. "Stay seated, Mum. I'll get it." Sana helped her mother back down, noticing how her hands trembled slightly. It was going to be a bad evening. The stress of an unexpected visitor was already affecting her. In the kitchen, Sana tried to calm her racing heart. She hadn't expected Vivian to come to her home, to involve her mother. She prepared the tea and returned to the living room where Vivian was studying the modest apartment with barely disguised disdain. "Mrs. Vale was just telling me about Langston when he was a boy," Patricia said, though her smile seemed forced. "Such a driven child." "He was always destined for greatness," Vivian agreed. "I made sure of it." Sana set the tea tray down. "What brings you here, Mrs. Vale? Langston didn't mention you were visiting." "He doesn't know I'm here," Vivian said bluntly. "This is between us women." Patricia looked confused again. "Between? Why don't you rest, Mom?" Sana suggested gently. "You seem tired." After helping her mother to her bedroom, Sana returned to find Vivian examining the family photos on the wall. "Your mother's condition must be difficult," Vivian said, not looking at Sana. "Alzheimer's is such a cruel disease. My mother-in-law had it. My ex-husband's mother, I should say." "It is difficult," Sana agreed cautiously. "But we manage." Vivian turned, her expression softening in a way that seemed calculated. "That's actually why I'm here. To help." "Help?" Sana repeated, disbelieving. "I know about the experimental treatments at Johns Hopkins," Vivian said. "The ones that have shown promising results for early onset cases like your mother's. Very exclusive, very expensive." Sana's breath caught. She had researched those treatments extensively, but knew they were far beyond her financial reach, even with her new consulting income. "What are you saying, Mrs. Vale?" "I'm saying I can get your mother into that program. All expenses paid. The best care in the country." Vivian sat down, smoothing her silk pants. "In exchange for one small thing." "And what would that be?" Sana asked, though she already knew. "End whatever this is with my son," Vivian said, her voice like ice. "Langston has a 5-year plan, CEO of a major tech company by 35, possible political aspirations after that. He doesn't need complications. And I'm a complication. Let's be honest, dear. You're a beautiful, intelligent woman. But you come with baggage. A sick mother, a modest income, and according to my sources, a history of your own mental health issues." Sana felt like she'd been slapped. "You investigated me?" "I protect my interests," Vivian said simply. "Langston is confused right now. Guilty about his comments, perhaps attracted to the novelty of dating someone so different from his usual type. But it won't last. You don't know your son very well, Sana said, anger rising in her chest. I know him better than anyone, Vivian countered. I made him what he is, and I know this little romance will fizzle out, but not before damaging his reputation further. Those photos of you two are already causing talk. So, that's your offer? My mother's health in exchange for breaking up with Langston? Vivian smiled thinly. I prefer to see it as a win-win. Your mother gets the best care money can buy, and Langston refocuses on his career without distractions. Think about it, Dr. Rhodes. What's more important, a 2-week fling or your mother's well-being? The question hit Sana like a physical blow, because she knew the answer. Nothing was more important than her mother. She'd already sacrificed her career, her social life, her future plans to care for Patricia. Could she sacrifice this new relationship too? I'll need time to think, she said finally. Of course, Vivian rose gracefully, but don't take too long. The next treatment group starts in 2 weeks. Here's my card. Call me when you've made the sensible decision. After Vivian left, Sana sat in the darkened living room, her mother's soft snores from the bedroom the only sound. Her phone buzzed with a text from Langston. Dinner at my place tonight? I'll cook. Well, I'll try. Might end up ordering in. The casual sweetness of it made her eyes sting with tears. In just 2 weeks, Langston had become important to her in ways she hadn't expected. She'd seen him change, challenge his own biases, open up about his insecurities. Was it all an act? Did it even matter when her mother's health hung in the balance? She didn't reply to his text. The next morning, Langston arrived at her apartment unannounced, worry etched on his face. Are you okay? You didn't answer any of my messages yesterday. Sana let him in reluctantly. I've had a lot on my mind. The photos, the media speculation. He took her hands. We'll weather it together. It'll blow over. Your mother came to see me, Sana said flatly. Langston's expression shifted from concern to shock to anger. What? When? Yesterday evening. She had an interesting proposition for me. Sana pulled her hands from his and walked to the window. Access to experimental treatments for my mother in exchange for ending things with you. She had no right, Langston said, his voice low with fury. I'll talk to her. She's right about one thing, Sana interrupted. This is complicated. You're a public figure with a career plan. I'm a caregiver with a mother who needs me and a job that barely pays the bills. Is that what you think I care about? Langston asked, stepping closer. My career plan? My public image? I don't know what to think anymore. Sana's voice wavered. 2 weeks ago, you were the man who said black women weren't attractive. Now you're sending me good morning texts and charming my mother and kissing me under the stars. It's a lot of change very quickly. Because you changed me, Langston said earnestly. From the moment I saw you at that party, you challenged everything I thought I knew. About myself, about what I wanted, about the stupid prejudices I didn't even realize I had internalized. People don't change that fast, Langston. They do when they meet someone who makes them want to be better. He reached for her face, gently turning it toward him. I know this is scary. I know the timing is suspicious, but what I feel for you is real. Sana wanted to believe him, but Vivian's words echoed in her mind, along with the cruel comments she'd read online. Was she just Langston's redemption story? His exotic adventure before he returned to the life his mother had planned for him? I need space, she said finally, to figure out what's real and what isn't. Langston looked pained, but nodded. I understand, but before I go, I want you to know something. He took a deep breath. I'm falling in love with you, Sana Rhodes. Not as some PR move or to prove a point to myself or anyone else. I'm falling in love with your strength, your kindness, the way you care for your mother, the way you challenge me to be better. And I'll wait as long as it takes for you to believe that. He pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead and left, leaving Sana with tears streaming down her face. That evening, as Sana was helping her mother prepare for bed, Patricia suddenly looked at her with unusual clarity. You're sad, she said, touching Sana's cheek. Is it because of that nice young man? The one who looks at you like your father looked at me? It's complicated, Mom. Love always is, Patricia said, surprising Sana with her lucidity. But it's worth fighting for. Your father and I, we had our struggles. People didn't want us together either. What do you mean? Sana asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Your father was darker than me, Patricia explained. My parents thought I should marry someone lighter-skinned, someone with better prospects. But I loved your father's kind heart. his steady strength. She smiled at the memory. We eloped. My parents didn't speak to me for 2 years. I never knew that, Sana said softly. They came around eventually, especially after you were born. So beautiful, with your father's deep complexion and my high cheekbones. Patricia's eyes grew distant. The world will always have opinions about who should love who, but in the end, it's your heart that matters. Sana held her mother's hand, wondering if she would remember this conversation tomorrow. These moments of clarity were becoming rarer, more precious. What about the treatments, Mom? The ones that might help you? Patricia looked confused again. Treatments? Never mind, Sana soothed. Get some rest. After her mother fell asleep, Sana made a difficult decision. She called Langston. Can we talk? She asked when he answered. In person? An hour later, they sat in his car outside her apartment building, the privacy of the tinted windows giving them a small bubble of isolation from the world. I can't accept your mother's offer, Sana said quietly. Not because I don't want the best care for my mum, but because I can't let her manipulate us that way. Langston nodded, relief evident on his face. I wouldn't want you to. I've already called my mother and told her to back off. I made it clear that my personal life is not her business anymore. How did she take that? Not well, he admitted with a grim smile, but she'll have to accept it. The treatments she mentioned, Sana began hesitantly. Are they real? Could they help my mum? They are, Langston confirmed. And I've already looked into getting your mother enrolled, regardless of what happens between us. No strings attached. I care about Patricia too, you know. Tears welled in Sana's eyes. Why would you do that? Because I meant what I said earlier. I'm falling in love with you. He took her hand. And loving someone means caring about what matters to them. Sana studied his face in the dim light of the car. The arrogant CEO she'd met at the rooftop party seemed like a distant memory now. This Langston, vulnerable, sincere, fighting his own ingrained biases, was the man she was falling for. I'm scared, she admitted, of the public scrutiny, of your mother's disapproval, of getting hurt again. I know, he said softly, and I can't promise it will be easy, but I can promise I'll be there, whatever comes. We'll face it together. Sana leaned across the center console and kissed him, a gentle meeting of lips that deepened as he pulled her closer. When they finally parted, both breathing heavily, she rested her forehead against his. Together, she whispered. What they didn't see was the photographer lurking in the shadows, capturing their intimate moment. By morning, the photos would be splashed across gossip sites with the headline, Confirmed, Tech CEO Langston Vale's Black Queen romance heats up. And in her luxury penthouse, Vivian Vale was already planning her next move. If she couldn't separate them with offers, perhaps threats would work better. She picked up her phone and dialed a number. It's time for Plan B, she said coldly. Find out everything about Sana Rhodes's mental health hospitalization 5 years ago. I want details, and I want leverage. The battle lines were drawn. Langston and Sana had chosen each other, but the war was just beginning. Their love would face tests they couldn't imagine, from the media, from Vivian, and from their own pasts coming back to haunt them. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Sana and Langston. Despite the media attention, they settled into a rhythm that felt surprisingly normal. Langston would come over after work, sometimes bringing dinner, sometimes cooking with Sana in her small kitchen. He'd sit with Patricia, patiently answering the same questions when she forgot who he was, never showing frustration. You're good with her, Sana observed one evening as Langston helped Patricia with a jigsaw puzzle. She reminds me of my grandmother, he said softly. The good days are a gift. On weekends, when Maya could stay with Patricia, Langston would take Sana out, not to fancy restaurants, but to quiet places where they could talk without being photographed. They'd walk in parks, visit museums during off hours, or just drive along the Georgia coastline with the windows down. During one such drive, Sana rested her head on Langston's shoulder as he steered with one hand, the other holding hers. I never thought I could be this happy again, she admitted. After Marcus left, I didn't think I'd trust anyone enough to let them in. Marcus was a fool, Langston said, kissing the top of her head. His loss is my gain. But even as their relationship deepened, storm clouds were gathering. Vivian Vale had not given up her quest to separate them. One Monday morning, Sana arrived at the therapy practice where she worked to find Dr. Jackson waiting with a grim expression. You need to see this, he said, handing her his tablet. On the screen was a gossip blog with the headline, Exclusive, Langston Vale's girlfriend's dark secret, suicide attempt after being left at the altar. Sana felt the blood drain from her face as she skimmed the article. It detailed how 5 years ago, after her fiancé Marcus had called off their wedding, Sana had been found unconscious in her apartment after taking an overdose of sleeping pills. The article quoted sources close to Dr. Rhodes saying she had been unstable and deeply depressed for months afterward. "This is private medical information," Sana whispered, her hands shaking. "How did they get this?" "I don't know," Dr. Jackson said gently. "But the practice has already received calls from reporters. The director wants to see you." By lunchtime, Sana had been placed on administrative leave until the situation resolved itself. The practice couldn't risk the negative publicity, they explained. Patients' parents were already calling, concerned about having their children treated by someone with a history of mental instability. As Sana drove home, tears streaming down her face, her phone rang. It was Langston. "Baby, I just saw the article," he said, his voice tight with anger. "Are you okay?" "No," she said honestly. "I'm not. They put me on leave, Langston. Everything I've worked for. Come to my place," he urged. "We'll figure this out together." But when Sana arrived at Langston's penthouse, she found him pacing, his expression thunderous. "It was my mother," he said without preamble. "I confronted her this morning, and she didn't even deny it. She paid someone at the hospital to access your records." "That's illegal," Sana said numbly. "I know, and she'll face consequences for it." Langston ran a hand over his face. "I'm so sorry, Sana. This is all because of me, because of us." Sana sat heavily on his couch. "It's out there now. Everyone knows." Langston knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "Look at me. What happened 5 years ago doesn't change how I feel about you. If anything, it makes me admire your strength even more." "Strength?" Sana laughed bitterly. "I tried to kill myself, Langston. After Marcus left, after my dad died, I just couldn't see a way forward. I was in such a dark place." She pulled her hands away. "It's not something I'm proud of." "You survived," Langston said firmly. "You got help. You rebuilt your life. That takes incredible courage." For a moment, Sana saw nothing but sincerity in his eyes, and she allowed herself to believe that maybe this breach of her privacy, this exposure of her darkest moment, wouldn't change things between them. She was wrong. That evening, Langston was scheduled to appear on Tech Tonight, a popular podcast about the technology industry. The host, Jason Reeves, had interviewed Langston many times before and had been an early investor in Veil Tech. "I should cancel," Langston said, as he adjusted his tie in front of the mirror. "With everything that's happening—" "No," Sana insisted. "This interview was scheduled weeks ago. It's important for the company, for the AI project. I'll be fine." "You're sure?" "Positive. Go be brilliant." She kissed him goodbye, not knowing it would be the last normal moment they would share for a long time. Sana watched the live stream of the podcast from Langston's living room. At first it went well. Jason and Langston discussed Veil Tech's latest innovations, the healthcare AI that Sana had helped develop, the company's rising stock price. Then Jason shifted gears. "So, Langston, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Your love life has been making headlines lately." Langston's smile tightened. "My personal life is just that, personal. Come on, man, a few months ago you're on record saying black women aren't attractive to you. Now you're dating a dark-skinned black woman who, according to today's reports, has quite a troubled past." Jason leaned forward. "You have to admit the timing seems convenient." "What are you implying?" Langston asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Look, we're friends, so I'll be blunt. People are saying this is all a PR move to repair your image after the backlash. Date a black woman, show everyone you're not prejudiced, gain back those sponsors you lost." Langston's jaw clenched. "That's not what this is." "No." Jason played a clip from Langston's infamous podcast interview about black women being too aggressive, too independent, too complicated. Then he split the screen to show recent paparazzi photos of Langston and Sana together. "Quite a transformation," Jason commented. "From black women aren't attractive to dating someone who looks like Dr. Rhodes. You have to admit, it's a pretty convenient redemption arc." "There's nothing convenient about falling in love," Langston said tightly. Jason laughed. "Love? Come on, man, this is me you're talking to. We've known each other for years. I've seen the women you've dated. They don't look anything like Dr. Rhodes." "People change, Jason." Sure. But this fast? And with all the drama around her suicide attempt coming out today? You've got to admit it's all a bit much." Jason smirked. "Between us, how long is this Black Queen redemption arc supposed to last? Until the sponsors come back? Until the stock price recovers?" Something in Langston snapped. He ripped off his microphone, stood up and leaned over the table toward Jason. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said, his voice shaking with fury. "Sana Rhodes is the most incredible woman I've ever met. She's brilliant, compassionate, stronger than anyone I know. What we have is real. And if you or anyone else can't see that because you're too caught up in your own prejudices, that's your loss." With that, he walked off the set, leaving Jason staring after him in shock. Sana sat frozen in Langston's living room, tears streaming down her face. He had defended her, defended their relationship. But the damage was done. Millions of people had watched Jason Reeves imply that their relationship was fake, that Langston was using her, that she was unstable. Her phone was already buzzing with messages from Maya, from colleagues, from people she hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone had seen it. When Langston stormed in 20 minutes later, his face was ashen. "I'm so sorry," he said, pacing. "I shouldn't have gone on that show. I knew Jason could be a jerk, but I never thought he'd stoop so low." "It's not your fault," Sana said quietly. "It is," Langston insisted, running his hands through his hair. "All of this, the media attention, the invasion of your privacy, your job, it's all because of me, because of who I am, and the stupid things I've said." Sana stood, approaching him cautiously. "Langston, we knew this wouldn't be easy." "But it shouldn't be this hard," he exploded, making her flinch. He immediately softened his voice. "I'm sorry. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at myself, at my mother, at Jason, at this whole situation." He pulled Sana into his arms, holding her tightly. "We'll get through this," he promised. "I just need to figure out how to fix it." But the next morning, Langston was gone. He'd left a note saying he needed time to think, to figure out how to protect her from the media circus that his life had become. He promised to call that evening. He didn't call. Not that night, not the next day, not the day after that. Days turned into a week, then two. Langston Vale had vanished from public view. Vale Tech released a statement saying their CEO was taking a brief sabbatical for personal reasons. His social media accounts went dark. His phone went straight to voicemail. Sana was devastated. After everything they'd shared, after all his promises that he wouldn't abandon her like Marcus had, Langston had disappeared when things got tough. "He's just like all the rest," she told Maya bitterly as they sat in her apartment sharing a bottle of wine. "When it got hard, he walked away." "We don't know that," Maya said, though she didn't sound convinced. "Maybe something happened. What happened is he realized Jason was right. Our relationship was complicated, messy, bad for his image, so he cut his losses." The pain of Langston's disappearance was compounded by Patricia's declining health. The stress of the media attention had taken its toll, and she was having more bad days than good, often not recognizing Sana at all. 3 weeks after Langston vanished, Sana was offered a job at a small clinic in Chicago, far from Atlanta, far from the gossip, far from the memories of Langston. She decided to take it. She'd move her mother to a care facility in Chicago, start fresh where no one knew her as Langston Vale's troubled girlfriend. The night before she was scheduled to sign the employment contract, there was a knock at her door. Thinking it was Maya, Sana opened it without checking. Langston Vale stood in her doorway, looking nothing like the polished CEO she'd known. His hair was longer, his face covered in a short beard. He wore jeans and a simple t-shirt instead of his usual tailored suits. But it was his eyes that shocked her most. They were red-rimmed, haunted. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. Sana's first instinct was to slam the door in his face, but something in his expression stopped her. She stepped aside wordlessly. Langston entered the apartment slowly, noticing the moving boxes stacked in the corner. "You're leaving," he said, his voice hollow. "I took a job in Chicago," Sana replied stiffly. "I think it's best for everyone." "Sana! Where were you?" she interrupted, anger finally breaking through her shock. 3 weeks, Langston. No calls, no texts, nothing. I thought we were in this together." "We were. We are." He reached into his back pocket and pulled out a worn leather journal. "I needed to figure some things out. About myself, about us, about the kind of man I want to be. And you couldn't have told me that? Left me wondering if you were even alive?" "I was ashamed," he admitted, his voice breaking. "After that podcast, seeing what my past words had done to you, how they were being used to hurt you, I couldn't face you until I'd dealt with my own demons." "So you just left," Sana said flatly. "Just like Marcus did." "No," Langston said firmly. "Not like him. I never stopped loving you, never stopped fighting for us. I just needed to become someone worthy of you first." He held out the journal. Every day I wrote something I never understood about black women. Until you. Sana hesitated, then took the journal. She opened it to find page after page of Langston's handwriting. I never understood the strength it takes to be beautiful in a world that doesn't see your beauty. Until you. I never understood the complexity of being too much and not enough at the same time. Until you. I never understood how independence could be both a shield and a prison. Until you. I never understood how much courage it takes to be vulnerable after being hurt. Until you. The entries continued, each one a revelation, an acknowledgement of his blindness and his growth. Tears filled Sana's eyes as she read. The last 3 weeks I've been in therapy, Langston explained, dealing with my mother's influence, my own internalized prejudices, the pressure I've put on myself to be perfect. I went to stay with my uncle in North Carolina, my father's brother, the one my mother always kept me away from because he married a dark-skinned woman and lived a simple life. He stepped closer. I needed to understand why I said those things, why I believed them. I needed to become a better man, for myself and for you. You should have told me, Sana said, but her anger was fading. I know. I was wrong not to, but I was spiraling, Sana. After that podcast, seeing the pain in your eyes, knowing I was the cause of it, I couldn't think straight. I needed to hit reset. From the bedroom came the sound of Patricia calling Sana's name. Langston's expression softened. How is she? Not good, Sana admitted. The stress of everything. It accelerated her decline. May I see her? Sana hesitated, then nodded. They walked to Patricia's room together, where she lay in bed, looking frailer than Langston remembered. Mom, you have a visitor, Sana said gently. Patricia looked up, her eyes cloudy with confusion before suddenly clearing. Langston, she said, surprising them both with her recognition. You came back. Yes, Mom, he said, sitting carefully on the edge of her bed. I'm sorry I was gone so long. Patricia studied his face with unexpected lucidity. You look different, stronger somehow. I feel different, he admitted. Patricia's gaze shifted between him and Sana. You two belong together. I can see it, even on my bad days. Mum, Sana began, but Patricia raised a shaking hand. Listen to me, while I still have the words. Life is too short and too precious to waste on pride or fear. She reached for Langston's hand. Do you love my daughter? With all my heart, he answered without hesitation. And will you stand by her even when it's hard? Even when the world judges you both? Yes, Langston said firmly. Nothing will ever make me walk away again. Patricia smiled, her eyes filling with tears. Then you have my blessing. Take care of each other. She looked at Sana. He's not Marcus, baby. He came back. Sana knelt beside the bed, taking her mother's other hand. I know, Mom. After Patricia drifted off to sleep, Sana and Langston sat in the living room. The journal opened between them. I understand if you can't forgive me for disappearing, Langston said quietly. But please believe that I never stopped loving you, never stopped fighting for us. I just had to fight my own demons first. I was going to leave, Sana admitted. Start over somewhere new. Is that still what you want? She looked at him, really looked at him. The man before her wasn't the arrogant CEO she'd met at that rooftop party. This Langston was humbled, vulnerable, honest in a way few men ever allowed themselves to be. I don't know what I want anymore, she said truthfully. These past few weeks have been hell, Langston. The media losing my job, my mother's decline, you disappearing. It was like everything was falling apart at once. I want to make it right, he said earnestly. All of it. I've already dealt with my mother. She'll never interfere in our lives again. I've contacted the hospital about the breach of your medical records. They're launching an investigation, and Vale Tech has created a position for you, heading up our mental health initiatives if you want it. I don't need you to fix everything, Sana said. I just need to know that when things get hard, and they will get hard again, you won't disappear. Never again, Langston promised, taking her hands. Whatever comes, we face it together. Sana studied his face, searching for any hint of insincerity. Instead, she found only love, determination, and a newfound humility that touched her heart. Together, she agreed softly. Their path forward wasn't easy. Patricia's condition continued to deteriorate, and Sana spent most of her time caring for her mother in her final months. Langston was there every step of the way, rearranging his schedule to help with Patricia's care, holding Sana when she cried from exhaustion, making sure they both ate and rested. When Patricia passed away peacefully in her sleep 6 months later, Langston stood beside Sana at the funeral, his quiet strength keeping her upright when grief threatened to overwhelm her. "She loved you," Sana told him, as they stood by the grave after everyone else had left. "Even on her worst days, she somehow knew you were someone special." "I loved her too," Langston said, his voice thick with emotion. "She raised an incredible daughter. In the year that followed, they rebuilt their lives together." Sana took the position at Vale Tech, developing mental health resources for underserved communities. Langston transformed his company's culture, prioritizing diversity and work-life balance in ways that initially shocked his board of directors. They moved into a new home, not Langston's penthouse or Sana's apartment, but a place that was theirs together, with a garden Patricia would have loved and a room dedicated to Langston's uncle, who had become a beloved mentor to them both. The media eventually moved on to other stories, though occasionally a reporter would try to revive the controversy of their relationship. They learned to ignore the noise and focus on what mattered: their love, their work, their shared vision for the future. 1 year after Patricia's passing, Langston and Sana attended a technology conference where he was being honored for Vale Tech's healthcare innovations. As they walked the red carpet, a reporter thrust a microphone toward Langston. "Mr. Vale, a year ago you were in the hot seat for your comments about black women being too complicated. Do you still feel that way now that you're engaged to Dr. Rhodes?" Sana tensed beside him, the diamond ring on her finger suddenly feeling heavy. They had announced their engagement just a week earlier, and this was the first public event where they'd been questioned about it. Langston glanced at Sana, a small smile playing at his lips. Then he looked directly at the reporter. "They are," he said simply. "Black women are complicated. They're strong and vulnerable, independent and loving, resilient and soft, all at once." He squeezed Sana's hand. "That's what makes them worth every damn second." The reporter looked surprised by his candor. "So, your views have changed?" "No," Langston replied. "I've changed, I've grown. I've learned to see beauty where I was once blind to it." He smiled at Sana, love evident in his eyes. Sometimes the greatest gifts come in packages we didn't expect. Later that night, as they stood on the balcony of their hotel room overlooking the Atlanta skyline, Sana leaned into Langston's embrace. "Did you mean what you said to that reporter?" she asked. "About black women being complicated?" "I meant every word," he said, kissing her temple, "but I left out the most important part." "Which is?" Langston turned her to face him, his expression serious. "That I thank God every day for making you complicated enough to challenge me, strong enough to change me, and loving enough to forgive me." Sana reached up to touch his face, tracing the features she had come to love so deeply. "We changed each other," she said softly, "and we're both better for it." As they sealed their words with a kiss, the Atlanta skyline glittered behind them, the same city where they'd met, where they'd struggled, and where they'd finally found their way to each other. Their story wasn't perfect or easy, but it was theirs, complicated, challenging, and worth every second. The end.